professionally.
If I were in a position today, that I am, and I had a mortgage, you'd see more X's. I wouldn't be able to afford my buildings. But
You
fortunately,
just said business.
they're paid for. They're paid for.
We're taxed like a
We
business.
can't
but we're
get
not.
separate services, but if you go to a restaurant, you don't pay your bill, they're gonna get you for separate services.
Because that's a business.
How come we can't get our money when they're not paying their rent?
The
Why
law,
can't we get them
You're a
for separate
victim.
services?
there's Maine,
Because we're not a business, we're not recognized in the eyes of the government as a business.
I think that has more to do
Yeah,
with
well, that's
Maine
the way they
Tenants
work
Rights,
it,
so
and that's
landlords
what they
just
tell
can't
us.
boot tenants out in the
Cause
cold.
we're trying to pass that law in Augusta,
But-
in Augusta, and we can't pass it because they say we're not a business.
I think that has more to do with Maine Tenants Rights, so landlords can't just boot people out in the cold. Often that I find with the most complaints that I receive from tenants, from landlords, that is obviously a problem here. I think, Stan, you said on the Sun Journal panel, online panel, that you go down in the downtown and it's visually like an eyesore. I think that's really telling of like the housing stock and who owns the buildings and how sometimes they really don't care for them sometimes. So our tenants are faced a lot with retaliatory eviction, with landlords withhold repairs. So, and then I just have to put it out there so everybody knows, as a tenant, continue to pay your rent even if repairs are not being made, because a judge works in the favor of the landlord and sees that you haven't been paying rent and you will get evicted. There's more information on the back table for me, my card's there, and I'll be happy to speak to anybody and give a tour of the downtown.
A lot of people seem to think that's their only way to get at the landlord, because it's the only communication they have with them,
Yeah,
is
Yep.
that they sign a check.
yep, and this is a common issue that happens in the downtown.
If you have that many people waiting for Section 8, and you have all these landlords that have 300 apartments empty, I'm sure that you should be able to find some places, some nice apartments for these people waiting in line, or is it?
Most of the tenants we deal with are tenants at work. They're just live paycheck to paycheck, like majority of Americans do. And, they can't leave the housing that they're currently in, so they usually tend to pay full rent. And then sometimes we have tenants that live in apartments managed by landlords, and they accept Section 8 money, but still don't make repairs. And organizations, maybe like Lewiston Housing Authority and Common Ties and Tri-County Mental Health, try to eventually step in, but I think a lot of times tenants are fearful of retaliation and fearful of losing whatever assistance that they help in their time of need, especially if they've just become unemployed or became disabled. So it's really an issue, and people really need to really know their rights.
Yep, and as far as the waiting list, it has nothing to do with the number of apartments in
Yeah.
town. It
No,
has to do with
there's
the
no
amount
money.
of money that's available.
There's no more money, that's why this.
That's why there's a waiting list, because there's a lack of money.
Yeah.
Because it's not the apartment, it is the apartment that gets approved for Section 8, but it's the person and their income that applies for it.
The waiting list's been closed for quite a while, so it's really more than 1,000.
I do have one question for you. Are they planning elevators in those buildings? No, that's out now. Because originally, when Volunteers of America applied for their permit, they were putting elevators in all these in their building.
And a security person in the building.
It was just one big building.
It's gonna be,
And when you do that, you have to have an elevator.
Yeah. Is it handicap accessible? And if it is, then all the cupboards, the sinks, the doorways, and everything has to be lowered, because it's if anybody has anybody who's handicapped, and you're out there looking for an apartment, it's very, very hard to find a functional apartment for a handicapped person.
The ground
Because
floor-
everything has to be lowered down.
The ground
to
floor,
there.
the ground floor units will
Well,
be built to
They'll be all-
accessibility
garage,
standards.
to pierce some pitch things on a higher cabinet, it's possible for a handicapped person to do it if we use a tool.